Better performance today than yesterday. What do you attribute it to?
Well, we would normally notice is like a trend the market has always been having, like it always pulls one surprise towards the end of the week for us to be left pondering as to how the market will move on coming Monday. Yeah.
Okay, so we'll just keep on looking into the crystal ball. But what does it mean, Waiyaki? Because for the longest time, so many reasons were given. Foreigners have pulled back, locals not coming back aggressively into the market. What are the changing trends?
Well, more or less, you tend to look at it from a point of view as that we've moved away. Initially, I talked about the holiday season. You notice between August, schools are closed, there's least trading happening. And then as we move into September, going on to October, you notice the tourism season is coming up. So we have a lot of that business going on.
Okay, the tourism season obviously is good news for the Kenyan shilling, which has been firm in recent days against the US dollar. Bidding at about 80 shillings, 60 on Thursday to improve going forward. Is it going to be a sustained improvement of appreciation for the shilling?
We could say a sustained improvement in terms of appreciation, but we also have to look at the demand also for the dollar based on some of the corporations that are here. And then you also need to notice that there are a lot of contractors who are on the ground, and especially with the infrastructure expansion programs that are happening, there's also a lot of demand in terms of capital, in terms of the dollars coming in. So we'll look at it maybe operating between 81 and thereabouts, maybe most likely, hopefully we might tend to see it going to lows or maybe 79, but that is slightly highly unlikely. But between 81 and 80, that's an area we'll notice that it will be there for a while.
Okay, let's move on to equities and what happened on the markets today. Carb assets suspended from trading. What was the problem?
Well, I think there was an issue in terms of the trading where the price might have overshot what is normally the requirement. And I think after the implementation of the new rule where that within a given period that a share cannot go more than, I think more than about 50% of its actual trading value. So that might have led to the temporary suspension, but it has nothing to do in terms of management of the organization.
Okay, and that issue could be rectified sooner. Let's talk about KPLC. Today it made a few losses, but generally it's been a market mover, good results, and a lot of interest in terms of expansion and innovations within the energy space.
Yes, if you look at KPLC when they were announcing their books, there's something else that they had not spoken of in general, but it is there. There is an annual target they have of connecting about 200,000 people. In terms of to become electricity users. But going by the trend, very many are unable, especially the domestic ones, to pay what is the equivalent of about 35,000 shillings to get electricity. So now, owing to a grant from the French government of about 465 million shillings, there is now what they've called a credit situation, which means that they can be connected for power and they pay only 9,000 as opposed to 35,000 shillings. Then the balance is paid out over a 2-year period. This will increase more connectivity in terms of electricity users and increase the numbers, hereby letting Kenya Power have more going forward and able to meet their 200,000 target. And if you look at it as a point of view of an investor, you look at within 2-3 years, they'll have much more people within in terms of their customers, and hence return on investment would be viable.
Let's talk about the East African Portland Cement Company, a market mover also today. Yesterday, the share price was up by as much as 3.45%. What's arousing interest in the stock at the moment?
Well, other than there's one of key things that they've done. There's a partnership with the KCB Savings and Loan Development Club, whereby any member of that club would be able to purchase East African Portland. Their trade name of their cement is Blue Triangle Cement in bulk at a subsidized rate. And this will increase in terms of those who are purchasing the product. But also going by it, you notice that the demand for cement has been constant. And from the point of, when we had the East African integration, where now tariffs will not be as punitive as they were, there's slightly much more demand. And you notice East Africa Portland Cement, Bamburi Cement are actually been in the contention in terms of the demand for their products. So that also has made people be much more interested in it. And then also owing by the way the management has been happening, because before it still was a parastatal, but there's a lot of management change, and this has brought it more towards what you call profitability. And you notice within also Athi River Mining and Bamburi, it's actually able to hold its own, as opposed to now relying on government support to be able to like shoulder it for it to function properly in the environment.
And then finally, I mean, they're not listed, but they are really making an impact on the Kenyan telecom space. Bharti unveiling part of their strategy as to what it is that they're going to do for Kenya and the 16 other African countries in which they're operating, going for IBN to manage their computing services. Is this expected to really bring in a shake-up of the telecoms market, and did it have any impact on Safaricom?
Well, it has. If you notice that this week has been the lowest traded for Safaricom, about 4 shillings and 55. But also going by what Bharti is coming on board to do is that they intend to actually have their Africa headquarters based here in terms of operations. They've talked about having 1,000 call centers, which more or less would be will create employment within the market. But going by it, it's a good thing if you look at it from the point of view of investment-wise, because it makes Kenya an attractive investment environment, because you have one of the largest telecom companies in the world actually setting up shop within Kenya. Sends positive vibes in terms of the business environment and what to expect. Yes, Safaricom would be affected slightly, but given their years in market and in the operation and where they are, they'll still be able to be a market force to reckon with, because also if you notice that they've not been sitting back, they've been actually aggressive in terms of like when there were offers of cheap connectivity or being able to make calls cheaply, they responded with the same and in kind. And then going by their numbers, they're still able to compete effectively. Then also there were some rules that had been implemented that were specifically targeted at Safaricom with regards to the monopolistic rule. Those rules were amended, and that clause that was specific in reference to Safaricom is no longer in operation, which now means that they're able to operate and competitively. So going forward, we're looking at a very good environment, and at the end of the day, the customer is the one who benefits the most.